Hey, I'm going to show you a video on how you can handle crashes in your app. I'm not going to say you can avoid all of your crashes, but I'm going to show you how you can execute code on a crash. Like if you wanted your app to restart or you wanted to change some shared preferences or something like that. Because I'm not sure if you're aware, if your app crashes, there are no callback methods called from the lifecycle. So on destroy is not called, nothing like that. So if you want some code to execute on the crash, I'm going to show you how to do that. But the interesting thing that about this video is we're going to do it through a separate class and interface. This can really be done within one activity by implementing by making your own interface and then setting it and then all this other stuff. Basically, what I'm saying is you can do this a lot shorter, but the way we're going to do it is we're going to make a separate class because this is so useful. You're probably going to want to put it in all of your apps. So all I do is I just copy this class and I will put it in my next project. And that way, all the code's pre-written, and I just got to pass it a single method that I want to execute on the crash. Right? So every new project, I won't have to make my own. What I'll do in every project is just type up the code I want to execute, and then since I copied the class into it, that class will take care of it for me. So that's why we're going to make it a separate class and an interface. So it's going to be kind of like a two lessons in one, using interfaces and handling crashes. So we'll just get started. So first of all, we should look at this right here, this method called test method. We see it accepts a string parameter. So I'm just going to call it right here, but I'm going to try to feed it a string. I mean, integer, right? And it's going to give me an error saying type mismatch. It expects a string, but you've given it an int. So now I can call it because I've fed it a string. And so basically what we should see right here is that the method accepts the type parameter of a string. And that's important to understand because an interface is almost like a type also. So let's just do this right here also. Inside of here, we're going to declare an interface testable. And we're going to say testable. We're going to say void testable method. And that's it. And so now let's change this test method to accept a type of testable. Testable test, right? And then since it accepts that type, we can now call test the object, right, that we're passing in, and then we can execute the method that's inside of there. Okay, I'm going to show you that one more time so you can understand it. See how that changes, right? So this is almost like a type. This interface is like a type, and inside of an interface, you can call a method. And the reason that's important is just like whenever you create an object and that class has methods in it, you can use that object to call those methods. Same thing with the interface. You can use an object of an interface, just kind of interchange the words class and interface, although they're different, but they're very similar too in the fact of how they get passed around and also functionality. So if we got a type testable and we have a variable of it, we can call that variable's methods, test dot testable method, right? Okay, so let's see that in action here. First, let's do this too, though. We're going to call just the major overriding life cycles. Just that, and then one more. We're going to do some logging information. Video key and on resume. This is specifically just to kind of show you, this type of stuff is important when you consider, like, it's going to be sometimes hard to narrow down issues. And if let's say you got a service that handles stuff in the background, and it's triggered by a broadcast receiver or whatever the case may be, but if your app has a certain mode and that mode's state is stored in shared preferences, if your app crashes, you might want to change those shared preferences, right? Because you don't want a broadcast receiver to receive a broadcast, and it looks at your shared preferences. It sees a certain mode is on, and it triggers something else, right? A simple app crash, you don't want the user to, because it's hard to avoid all crashes. Um, but if it happens, you want to make sure you can handle the crash, execute some code, keep your downloaders happy. Plus, it's just good practice, and it's very useful. But I'm gonna pause this video too while this is building. Or actually, I'll tell you what. While it's building, we'll go ahead and start making a layout. All right. I'm just gonna go ahead and let it build first. In fact, I think I need to. Had to turn off my uh, instant run for the last app that I was doing. Okay. Oh, and I don't know if y'all know about this, but control click takes you to a resource very fast. The Gradle's building, so it's a little slower, but I mean, heck, it's already open right here. But if you're working on a project with a lot of different activities and layouts, it's pretty freaking useful. But we're just going to have a text view, nothing major at all, just a text view to kind of show some stuff. 2 buttons. Okay. We will give this text, we will say, um, initialize text view value for the text. Crash app for that one, because that button's going to crash the app. And just that simple. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and clear those as app or class wide. Button 1. I'll give this a name so it's a little bit more distinguishable. Hope you followed that. I just put 2 buttons on a layout pretty much. I have identified them, but we're going to button 1 crash dot set on click listener new on that implements the method automatically, and we're going to put this as init value for TV. We're going to call that method from there, and then button crash, we're going to make it crash to app. And basically what we're going to do for that is just do something stupid. We're going to declare an edit text, and inside of this on click, we're going to do edit text.getText.toString. We're going to assign that to a string. Let's see. String word equals edit text. But that edit text has not been initialized, so that will immediately crash the app. And that's what we're going to run right now. Let me make this method. Okay. That's just going to be a method inside of the main activity. So all we have is our 3 widgets, a text view, a button, and we have identified them. We've set on click listeners for the buttons. One is to initialize the text view. I'm sorry, not initialize the text view, but the text view is going to display a word. That word is going to come from shared preferences. We'll get to that. But that's what this is going to do. It's going to give the shared preferences its initial value. Because right now, we're going to make this text view say hello world, right? So the text view is going to say hello world. And whenever we click button 1, we're going to change the shared preferences. And then the text view's value will change because the text view's value is going to be based off of what's in the shared preferences. And then we're going to make the app crash right here. Just follow along. But if you're, of course, anxious because this video might get a little longer, it's already 12 minutes, I might make this a 2-parter just to kind of separate it. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make one video to show you the setup of the app. We're going to make it crash. The second video is going to be all about making that separate class and interface. So that's what we'll do. We'll make it 2 different apps. But I'm going to pause the video right now. If this takes too long, let's see. I'm going to open up my visor, get my phone out. Yeah, I'm going to pause the video while this all pops up. Alright, so here is the video resuming. I've got my app, this app that we're making. I got it right here. Here's our text view. It says hello world, and it will always say hello world until we give it a different value to display. But we haven't got there yet. But I'm going to hit crash app right now just so you can see. And if you remember, I've got the lifecycle methods right here. The key is the video key, and then of course on pause shows on pause, on destroy shows on destroy, on resume shows on resume. So we're going to open up the logcat, and let's see here. And what the crap? There we go. Get down. And we're in the information category, and our key is video key. So there it is right there. You see all that because I'm rotating the phone. But I'm going to clear my logs. I'm going to back out of this app. On pause, on destroy, of course, that you see. I'm going to clear that. And what we're going to do is open it up fresh. So you can see an interface video right here. And as soon as I opened it, on resume was called. Actually, sorry. On create, I didn't put logging data in every single one. Just these 3 right here, just specifically on pause and on destroy, just so I can show you that I'm about to hit crash app. And look, no lifecycle method has been called. We're going to reopen the video. On resume is going to call because it does. It's good. It goes about its ordinary business. Opens the app, it creates it, it starts it, it resumes it, and all that. But whenever an app crashes, bam, no lifecycle callbacks. No, especially the one right after the app goes away, right? On pause, on stop, nothing. On destroy. So how can we execute some code to whenever the app crashes, right? I want to make a method, and I want that method to execute on a crash. But how can I if there's no lifecycle callbacks? So that's what we're going to do because I had to do this, right? It'd be cool if I could just say private void execute on crash, and the system just know what I'm talking about, right? Let's do this. Execute this, but it's not that simple. It is, but how does the system know to execute this? So that's where we're going to make our separate class and interface to kind of handle that. Right now, we're also going to get those shared preferences going in this video. So in the next video, only we'll focus on creating that class and that interface. So whenever the app creates, we're going to call a method called update text view from prefs, right? So let's go ahead and now we got our method right here. So we're going to say shared preferences prefs equals get shared preferences. We're going to give it the key of video and context mode private. And then we're going to say string value equals prefs dot get string, and we're going to say TV value is the string key. This video is specifically to kind of show you're supposed to have a little working knowledge of this stuff. If not, it's not too complicated. It's not a problem. But I'm not going to take the time to explain shared preferences right now. All I'll say is shared preferences, the value of it does not change whatsoever unless you programmatically change it or you clear your cache and data from the app. So using shared preferences to store apps information is great. Look into shared preferences for sure. And so the first parameter right here is going to be our key. The second parameter is the initial value. So we're going to say initial value. Hello again, world. So whenever we open the app, it's going to call this method. This method is going to grab whatever, it's going to get your shared preferences with the label video, and it's going to get the string with the key TV value from it. And then we're just going to call tv.setText value, right? So next time we run this app, it should say this right here should change from hello world to initial value hello again world. So let's run this to double check what we got. And that's called in the on create. So right after those views are initialized, it'll call that and it'll change the value of it. So let's see what happens. See, initial value, hello again, cruel world. All right. I don't know why I put this button in there. It's not absolutely necessary. Actually, let me show you something. We'll call init another value for TV. So what we'll do is now we'll write the shared preferences. And you're going to call the inner class editor equals, let's see, and this time we're going to put this in all caps. yet another value from prefs. And then we're going to call apply because that calls asynchronous. All right, so once we do that, we're going to then call recreate. And whenever we recreate, it'll recreate this activity and it'll call on create again. And then, of course, update text view from prefs will be called. That will retrieve the value. And, of course, we just give it another value. So it should just do another value right in front of us. And so the point of what I'm trying to show you right here is I'm not trying to give you a big tutorial on shared preferences. What I'm trying to show you is data persistence among in the app, like, and what happens when it crashes and how you can store states of stuff like this. So you can store, like, you can have like a mode of your app and you might can store it in shared preferences as a boolean or a string, and you can base action off of them shared preferences, right? If I open the app, like let's say I want to make a rate my app 5 stars dialogue and I want it to only pop up if they allow it. Maybe I'll put an option on there, do not show again. And if they hit do not show again, I'll check my shared preferences. If it's false, then I won't show it. You can have many different uses for this type of stuff. All right, so I'm going to hit the initialize TV value. Bam. So what happened is it wrote to the shared preferences and it recreated the app. All right, so I'm going to crash it just to crash. All right, next video will show you how we can execute code on this crash. I'm going to pause this video and stop it.